Brother Corey, you can still hear me?
Yes, sir. All right. Prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, Master of the Day of Judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we worship, thine aid we seek. O Allah, guide us along the right path, the path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed favor, not of those upon whom wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray. Ameen.
Right. Thank you, Brother Corey. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, we thank Almighty God Allah for his coming in the person of Master Farah Muhammad, and we thank him for the most humble and honorable Elijah Muhammad, the exalted Christ. We also thank him for the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I greet you all with the greeting word of peace in paradise. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yes, man. We thank you all for taking the time out to actually be on this actual call. Is Brother Tony on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Brother Tony is on. We thank you too, Brother Tony, for taking the opportunity, taking the time to share what you've learned from your years of being a member of the Nation of Islam and being a regional minister and helper of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And just to start off, the purpose of this, these bi-monthly telephone calls, it's not an official ministry class, but this is an opportunity for brothers and sisters who are in the ministry or who desire to be in the ministry to get together and learn from the experiences of other brothers and sisters, what I would describe as best practices. So the last session we had Brother Dimitri, and he talked about pastoral care, and many people really got great benefit from that, as many people have got great benefit from when Brother Hugh was on, and Brother Carlos and Dr. Wesley. So now we have our brother from the West Coast who's been traveling around the country, just letting everybody know about these vaccinations. But even prior to that, Minister Tony has always been a worker, always been a helper of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the fighter for our people. He has a rich story, a rich experience within the Nation of Islam, and I want to give him as much time as he possibly can. So, Minister Tony, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put everybody on listen mode, and I gave you the code that you need to hit to come on, and once you come on, we can get started. You can talk, and then we'll open up for questions after you finish.
Yes, sir.
So I'm about to put everybody on listen mode now. Minister Tony, you can hit the code and you can come on and begin out there, brother.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. We could never thank him enough for raising from among us our divine messenger, the exalted Christ, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Certainly we are deeply, deeply indebted to Almighty God, Allah, that he would give us another portion and dose of his divine mercy by giving to us a divine leader, teacher, and guide, the Messiah in our midst today, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It is in their holy and righteous names that I greet all who are on this call. In the greeting words of peace again, Assalamu alaikum. And dear brothers and sisters, happy Savior's Day. I want to first start by thanking Brother Willie Muhammad. Thank you so very, very much, brother, for allowing me to just share some basic, what I think for the start would be just elementary forms of building a successful mosque through planning. Before I would do anything, I would just like to share a verse from the Quran, because as a group of Muslims, no matter what city you're in, if you are a true believing group of Muslims, all true groups are successful. I'm going to say that again. All true believing groups are successful. Any group that is not successful cannot be considered a true group. A mob is that which is at war with itself. So either we are a true group of believers who are obtaining success, or we are a mob disguising ourselves as a group of believers. So let me read something real quick to those of you who are listening from the Holy Quran, Surah 61, titled The Ranks. It reads in section 2, the establishment of truth needed sacrifice. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. O you who believe, shall I lead you to a merchandise which will deliver you from a painful chastisement? You should believe in Allah and His Messenger and strive hard in Allah's way with your wealth and your lives. That is better for you, did you but know. Now here's what He'll do for you. Ayat 12 reads like this. He will forgive you your sins and cause you to enter gardens wherein rivers flow and goodly dwellings in gardens of perpetuity. That is the mighty achievement. And yet another blessing that you love, help from Allah and a victory near at hand. And give good news to the believers. O you who believe, be helpers in the cause of Allah, as Jesus, son of Mary, said to the disciples, who are my helpers in the cause of Allah? The disciples said, we are helpers in the cause of Allah. So a party of the children of Israel believe and a party disbelieve. Then Allah says, then we aided those who believed against their enemy, and they became predominant. So I have the awesome responsibility of just sharing some basic things, brothers and sisters, to you all that certainly in this post, man, I don't think there are none of us who've been perfect. But through trial and error, through studying other organizations and tools and things that we could use, one of the things that I've learned, that when the minister sent me into the church to come back with certain technology, all of the technology that they have, we use it, but we don't have it codified, and we don't use it in a systematic way. We use it sporadically. So for me, I just want to give you some of the things that we use at Muhammad's Mosque number 27. And remember, I said to you, a true group is a group that have a strategy, it has a plan, and in those plans it has targets. And remember, I also said to you what a mob is. A mob is a group that is at war against itself, and no one in that group knows the purpose, nor do they know the strategy, and they can't even tell you what that group goal is. I have visited and been blessed by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to go all over this country. And in many of the mosques and cities that I have attended, I would just walk up to a believer and I would ask that believer, what is the goal of this mosque or study group? 95% of those believers couldn't tell me. So what I knew at that moment, if I go to 5 believers and no believers can tell me what the goals of that particular group is, then I know that that's not a true group. I know that they're in that city mobbing. Every believer should know what the goals are of the mosque from the standpoint of, number one, the sole purpose. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us that the sole purpose of the Nation of Islam at that time was to deliver the 17 million more to the Lamb of God. Brothers and sisters, that's the sole purpose, meaning that our eyes should only be, number one, on the sole purpose. In every strategy that we set up has to be in line with that purpose. He didn't say the sole purpose was to build businesses, although businesses will aid in the sole purpose. And so, therefore, we have to now come up with a strategic plan that puts us on that purpose. Purpose means the intended and the desired result. The desire of Allah, Master Father Muhammad, was that he gets all 17 million with the 2 million Indians and make us Muslims. So in this strategic plan, brothers and sisters, if there is no goal in relationship to that plan, then if there is no targets in that plan, that is a group that is mobbing. And guess what's going to happen when there's no plan and there's no goals and there is no target? The laborers, the leadership then become the target of the dissatisfaction of those who don't know what they're reaching for. So in Los Angeles, this is what we did. We put together, and what I love about the beautiful, beautiful new FOI classes, we've been going through these. We've been going through strategy. We went through what the purpose is. We set up battle plans, and in the battle plans, what is the target? So in Los Angeles, our goal was to make sure that every believer know what the specific goals for LA is. Number one, we know that LA got 421,000 black people in the city of Los Angeles. Then we know that there's 4,685,000 Mexicans. And then there's approximately 30,000 Native Americans. Well, now we have to look at that as a part of our goal. Our goal is to get all of them. Then to do that, what is the strategic plan to make that happen? So what we did, brothers and sisters, number one, we meet with the believers monthly, and we put the goals out in front of them, but we start with the number one program, and that is the resurrection of the dead. We have in L.A., and I don't know what you have in your cities, but just take the amount of believers that you have in your city. We attempted to get agreement with the believers, because you got to have agreement. Because wherever there is no agreement, then that means that that believer is going to work against you if they don't agree with the goals. So how do you make sure that every believer agree with what the goal is and after that agrees with the strategy? So this is what we did, just real briefly. We have 350 believers. Well, we set a goal. The goal is how many of you would reproduce yourself in one person every year? So we made a personal goal that each one of us would be responsible for bringing one person in the nation every year, at least one. There are some who've already brought in 5. So now if we are at 350 members, the goal is to grow in new converts by 350 every year. Now, in order to do that, we have to set up a tracking system. Number one, we track every believer to make sure every believer is making all of their mosque meetings, but particularly the Sunday mosque meeting, and are bringing a guest. Then we have a tracking system set up for those who have accepted. Once they accept, did they get to their class? If they didn't get to their class, then we have somebody who go out and search for that person to make sure that that person now comes to their class. So now there's a person who wears that hat. Then there's another group, if I'm making sense, called the visitors. Every week in L.A., we have about nearly 70 people who come every week, and that number alternates in terms of personalities. We have about 70 visitors, meaning they've been to the mosque at least one time before. Do you know we have set up, and there's 2 people who track that group of people. And the goal is to keep on them until they do 2 things. Number 1, support all of our programs. Or 2, become a registered member. Then, brothers and sisters, we have a group who their job is to disseminate information out to our community, because in our strategic plan, we got to have dissemination, meaning we got to have marketing. See? So marketing becomes a part of our tactical plan. So in L.A., we're on the radio. In L.A., we are passing out flyers, both through social media, because the goal for L.A. in terms of building the mosque is new converts. And by Allah's grace, we every month have been able to make our first-time guest goals. And we have been almost successful at that every month for the last year and 4 months because of this strategic plan. And every believer in the mosque knows what the goal is, because each believer knows what his or her goal is. When it comes to the first-time guest, every believer knows the goals when it comes to all of the bills. Every believer knows the goals when it comes to every social program that we have. Every believer can recite to you all of the ministries and tell you which ministry that they are part of. Our goal is to make sure that every believer is wearing a hat and is functioning inside of the Nation of Islam. And you can do this through a computer. And lastly, brothers and sisters, we at the end of every month make sure that every believer gets a report card. For instance, you may have a credit card, or you may have a cell phone bill. Every month, T-Mobile sends you your bill. It shows you how many times you text. It shows you how many times you made a call. It gives you everything on that plan. So when we give a believer their report card, on that report card, we show that believer how many guests they brought, and we put that on a graph. We show that believer how many mosque meetings they made or didn't make. It's on a graph. We show that believer how much charity they've given based on what they said they would do, not what we forced them to do. Once we put the rent up and we ask every believer, what can you contribute toward the mosque mortgage every month? That believer tells us that, we record it. And then the only thing we do is manage that believer's, his or her own word back to themselves. Why? Because a Muslim word is his or her bond. So we have a group who sit down and graph charts. So every month when that believer gets his or her report card and they see and they grade themselves, guess what we have seen? We've seen believers run into the secretary department to give in charity. We've seen believers now see that, wow, I didn't bring no guests, and I got this report card. We see the believer, the true believer now. We see them trying to adjust based to their word. And when we see that a believer falls slack 3 months in a row, those believers are brought before the 4 primary laborers. And our only job is to give them a spiritual, mental checkup. Because if they're not doing well, it denotes for us something spiritually is wrong, or something mentally is wrong, or something financially is wrong. And do you know when we have called believers in and a believer say to us, I couldn't pay my rent. I don't have a job. And now we know where to route that believer. Brother, sister, you don't have a job? Go to our social department. We keep a calendar of events of those who are doing hiring. This year, I have a tax company. I hired over 300 people, many of them believers who didn't have a job. Now we're aiding the believers and making sure every believer is engaged in the goals of the mosque, whether that goal is guests, whether that goal is paying the mosque bills, whether that goal is social programs. So for LA, we have 3 areas that we want to see the believers functioning in. Number 1, the sole purpose, going after the dead. Number 2, make sure that every believer is involved in one of the 9 ministries. Number 3, make sure that every believer is participating in our social events, whether it be movie night, jazz night. We sometimes get together, married couples, and we try to take them to concerts where people can see the members of the Nation of Islam out in the community. We do that just to show out. That's called a social maneuver. To where we may go to a concert of Frankie Beverly, it's 80 couples. We may rent an SUV, and we go to show out. We're sitting the sisters down, man. I'm telling you, it's just beautiful, and it works for us. So it's very simple, dear brothers and sisters. And what I will do, Brother Willie, I have all of this typed up that I could send to you, and you could send out to any of those that are listening. And it's a very, very simple strategic plan that we've set up here in LA that can help every mosque and our study group based on the goals that you set. See? So for us, we're trying to buy a building. So we have a building fund drive here, and we have a goal that every believer agreed to. Well, we wanted to raise $75,000 in 6 months. We didn't quite get to the $75,000, but we made it as a goal. What if we didn't have a goal at all? And in that goal, we broke it down to weekly, daily, how the believers can achieve the set above. In our strategic plan, we wanted to create what we called a new culture, where the young people in the mosque got together, and in that new culture, we established a Muslim Business Association. We've now reactivated our MUI because that was one of the goals, was to start an MUI. This year, we reached that goal. We wanted to be the number 1 group when it came to auditing. We reached those goals. And so, again, my big stickler for any mosque and or study group is this. Where there is no goals, you do not have a true believing group. And when you put up those goals, it can't be goals that 4 laborers decide that this is the goal. You go before your group, and you put those goals up before the group. The group may think your goals are too low, and the group in group agreement say, let's go up or let's go down. Now, the believers are engaged in the overall goals of that study group, of that mosque. Once you get consensus, then you go to each person privately, not in the public. Say, brother, what are you going to do to accomplish the set above first-time guest goal? Thank you, brother. How much can you contribute every week toward all of our total bills, brother? And look, don't try to show out. Once that brother or sister put that down, you mark it. Then we say, okay, brother, how many mosque meetings do you intend to make every month? Make them make their word bond. Then we put it in the form of a contract. We give them a copy, we keep a copy. Now, every lieutenant on file, when I ask that lieutenant, tell me something about brother such and such or sister such and such, they go to the file, brother minister. Here's what her words were. Here's what this brother word is. How's he doing towards his goals that he said was going to make? Brother minister, this brother is doing great. See, who's doing bad? This stack of believers is not doing well. Well, that then is handed over to the ministry class. Because our job then is to find out where are they in their beliefs. So it's a simple process, dear brothers and sisters, and I don't want to belong it any further, but I certainly will take any questions that you have. Because as a minister, when the believers are bringing the guests, I've set a goal. My goal is that 8 out of 10 guests, my goal is to get 8 out of 10 guests to stand up. So at the end of the month, the laborers, we have to post our goals out in front of everybody. So if I don't get 8 out of 10 to stand up, but Allah bless me to get 6 out of 10 to stand up, man, the believers love it. And that makes them go get more guests because I'm not cooking up no dead lectures. Apparently, the dead is responding to the lectures. And that's when you know you got a group that's moving. That's when it makes it hard for the hypocrite now to go and bite on the believers, because we also tell the believers how to take their spiritual immune shot. And we warn them on how the hypocrite and the weak believer will come at them. So it's not 100% proof, but without any plan at all, we wouldn't have made the little moderate progress that Allah blessed us to make here in the city of Los Angeles. And we intend to perfect it 2017. Because last year was the first year we actually stuck to these plans. So that's what I have to offer those of you tonight on this phone. And Brother Willie, I'll take any questions that any of those believers may have.
Man, wow, brother minister. Man, that was phenomenal. Definitely.
And I'll send you a copy. It's real simple. You know, and it could be more detailed, but I learned some things when I went to the church, and they show you through a graph, and I'll come back the next time. When you look at a person's graph and their up stats, if you see that graph going upwards, then you know you are being successful. If you got a believer and their line is going down, then that line, it could be, they got a term called emergency, they got a term called normal, they got a term called affluent, they got a term called power. See, if you got a graph that's going down, it's an emergency. It's 7 steps to get it out of emergency.
Wow.
If you got a graph that's flatlining, there's 5 steps to get out of flatlining and going upward. And it works like clockwork, and that's what the minister had all the national laborers to go study. And that was because he said, I haven't seen a group more organized than the church under Mr. Hubbard. Do you know most of the Fortune 500 companies use Mr. Hubbard organizational planning? Federal Express, Xerox, this is why they're some of the best. Southwest Airlines, they use it. They don't care about the religion. You know, we don't care about the religion, but shoot, what they got that work, we want it.
And we'll see for any people that have a question, if you can just press *6 and you can come on and ask through the Minister Tony your question.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. Student Minister Tony, this is Brother Corey in Charlotte.
Wa alaikum salam, Big Corey.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Beautiful job tonight, brother. And just had a question. I am looking forward to getting what you'll send to brothers, to the Minister Willie. But when you all are doing tracking, and not to make this too technical sounding or whatever, but is there, are you all using like an Excel spreadsheet, or what are you all using
they use an Excel spreadsheet so that I can simply go on. Let's say 10 people stand up, right?
Yes, sir.
Then what I do, I can go in 2 weeks and look in the spreadsheet, and now I can see that, wow, 7 of the brothers, they've been processing for 3 weeks. Then I see 3 never moved out of what we call the gate. So then my question becomes, when I go to the ministry class, I use this scripture. What man having 100 sheep won't leave that 99 and go after that one?
Yes, sir.
See, so if I see that there's 3 that never made it to class, I'm concerned. Who went after them? So then Brother Jason, one of my student ministers, said, Brother Minister, I called him. And when he called him, well, did you reach him? Yes, sir. What did he say? This brother said that, he stood up, but now he done changed his mind. What did that brother say? Well, this brother, he wasn't quite sure when he could make it. What did this brother say? Well, this brother say, right now he's not ready. Okay, well, then the next question, will they just make our mosque where they get their spiritual teaching? One of the brothers said yes. The other brother said he don't know. Now, guess what I do? I call those 3 people.
Yes, sir.
And guess what has happened in many cases? I've gotten all 3 to reactivate. Because the call coming from the man that they heard, it blew them away. Whoa, Minister Tony, you call me? Yes, sir, brother. You okay? I understand that you're not ready. And, hey, brother, that's quite all right. Just want to make sure that nobody say nothing or do nothing to you that was disrespectful to you.
Yes, sir.
There was at least 2 people over the course of a year who said that some people said some crap to them that hurt their spirit. Because the minister told me, brother, be careful who teach the orientation class, because some people are like that nurse who stick a needle in the brains of the new convert. So there was a brother who had dreadlock and an earring, and the brother who was teaching orientation class saying, don't nobody wear earrings but faggots.
Oh, okay.
See, so now he had to apologize. Hold on, brother. How you going to say don't nobody wear earrings but faggots? See, you being too hard.
Yes, sir.
So, yes, sir, and the same thing with the sisters, dear brother. And not only do we track that first-time guest, we also look at, we got visitors. There was a brother named Sean. We were tracking him, brother. Here's a brother that came to the mosque every Sunday for a year and a half
yes.
before he joined. We tracked him. We made the brother an honorary Muslim, and we have this little ceremony. Do you know right after we did that, he joined?
Yes, sir. All right.
Because we're tracking who's with us, who's not. Then we do the same thing with the believers. We track the believers.
Yes, sir.
Now you watching it like a true manager. You in your back office looking at, whoa, I need to talk to brother or sister such and such. Wait a minute. I stood up. God blessed us, and 100 people accepted this month. How many got their X? See, so we track their X. Guess what we found the bottleneck is? Chicago. Now we can help national. And what we found out ain't but one person doing the paperwork in Chicago.
Right.
They may have 400 letters.
Yes, sir.
Oh, it's beautiful, man. It's mathematics. You know what I mean? It's mathematics. And I got tired of guessing, man. I couldn't get my questions answered. Where is this brother? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know?
Right.
14 people stood up. Where are they? So I make a person responsible just for the. See, I make a person responsible for getting people who stood up for the first time. This brother or sister, only job is to make sure they get to their first class. Once they get to their first class, the student minister, male or female, has to handle and get them through 4 to 6 weeks. Once they go through 4 to 6 weeks, we hand them over to the captain. And then we track them from there all the way till they become believers.
Yes, sir.
Does that make sense?
It does, brother. I'm jotting all these notes down. Yes, sir.
And see, and as we are tracking them, all of them know what the goals are. See, when you come to LA and say, hey, what's your overall goal for first time guests? Every believer should be able to tell you because they get a report card. Well, what is your goal? What role you gonna play in that? Well, my goal is I agreed to reproduce in myself by making sure one person that I came in contact with joined the nation.
Yes, sir.
Just one. But your job is to make sure they come all the way in.
Yes, sir.
So now, if it's 350 of us, guess what? The next year it should be 6. It should be 700.
Right.
And we may not hit the goal, but what if Allah bless us with 100?
Yes, sir.
You can't beat 100 new X's a year. No city.
Right.
See? So when a believer when we are having business meetings, and a believer wants to ask the question, and sometimes you have the wicked, deceiving hypocrite who try to break everybody's spirit. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said this to me. He said, brother, whenever you have a business meeting and you have a believer that want to ask a question, have your secretary there, and before they ask the question, pull that record.
Yes, sir.
Hold on, brother, such and such. Let me pull your. Even if that person please you, you'll be surprised at who's up and around you that ain't doing nothing.
Yes, sir.
Before you ask that question, Sister Secretary, Brother Secretary, could you pull their records? We got a quick report card. Oh, brother is doing 80%. Absolutely. What's your question, sir?
Right. Okay. Yes, sir.
Now, if here's a person that ain't doing that, hold on, brother. Now, your word ain't bond, brother. You haven't given nothing in a year to number 2 poor. You've only made 10% of your mosque meetings. How could I help you? Many of those people sit down, brother. But because they know we do this, they don't even raise their hand no more.
Right. Okay.
The only one that raise their hand are those who just concerned and they want to make it better, man. They're not looking to argue with you because each one of us have to do our part. So if I'm doing my part, you doing your part, that's a believer I want to hang out with.
Yes, sir.
Because too many strong believers are hanging out with weak ones and don't even realize it.
Right, right.
So the Holy Quran said when the believers come together, the only discussion we're supposed to be having is duty.
Yes, sir.
To Allah. Just like we want to know the score for the Super Bowl. When the believers get together, how you doing on your final call, brother? How you doing on your guests? How you doing on making your mosque meet? Man, did you see what was dropped in study group?
Yes, sir.
And then the energy of the group, man, you'll start feeling the energy of the group, man. Brother, I've been on this post. I've been on this post for 22 years in LA. And in the 22 years I've been on this post, the last 3 years now, for the first time in 22-year history, my 22-year history, we have never been late for not one of our bills. Prior to that, oh, my God, we 6 months behind. We 4 months behind. This getting shut off. That getting shut off. Because we were mobbing.
Yes, sir.
We didn't have no goal. Then we didn't make everybody responsible. So people were getting away. And we was assuming stuff was happening, and we didn't have mathematics in place. So now that we put some order in place and we got our strategic plan, oh my God, man, it's like, wow. The believers now without, and now when we make the announcement that, brothers and sisters, we've never been late, brother, you should hear the Allahu Akbar.
Yes, sir.
So it's simple. Many of you already know how to do those spreadsheets. It's really simple. The only thing you need to make sure somebody is monitoring that. That's got to be somebody's responsibility, Brother Corey.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Brother Tony, it's an honor. It's an honor to Brother Roosevelt Muhammad out of New Orleans. I wanted to ask you a question. How do we bring back into the brothers the importance of the final call as far as distribution outside of purchase without being offensive?
Yeah. Well, see, you should never, and thank you for that, because that's all you got to do is be excited about it yourself. Because what I'm finding out, dear brother, is we assume that the brothers or whoever is going out to sell the paper, we assume that they're trained. I'm going to say that again. See, do we have a list on every brother that's been trained? I'm not talking about giving papers. We do that good. But have somebody took this brother, has somebody, first of all, gave him a classroom? Did he take a course? One thing I love about the Church of Scientology, they give you a course for everything. I don't give a damn if you're going to plug in a machine. They will make sure you read how to plug up a computer, how to each step, and then they watch you do every step. Then they can say you trained. You'll be surprised at how many brothers are scared of people.
Right.
But because we do the rah-rah, they don't want to feel like no punk. They go out knowing they scared. Just fail. So the lieutenant job is to what? Teach and train the private soldier. When are they training anybody in private? It's always group. So there have to be a course. So when I look at it, brother, Lieutenant, has this brother been trained? Yes, sir. Brother, what is the purpose of the Final Call newspaper? How can he sell what he don't know the purpose of? What are the three most important parts of Final Call newspaper? He don't even know his product. You get my drift? Hello?
Okay, yes, sir.
Brother?
I get you, brother. Loud and clear.
I'm angry over a man that I don't even know if he can sell. And that's why people sit down on us. They telling you, I got a MU, I got a misunderstanding. I don't know how to sell. And I don't know how to tell you without sounding weak. Because don't nobody ever get with me in private. I'm going to be honest. When I came in, now people didn't tell me the three most important things, but what I did get, when I first came in, they always had this thing, always send a new brother with a strong brother. And a brother in Atlanta, Georgia, by the name of Harold, he would take me out. He said, now, brother, the second most powerful minister in the nation of Islam is the Final Call newspaper. Wow, I'm so glad that brother said that to me. He said, now, when you come out here, brother, you ain't selling you selling the minister. When you hold that paper up, you holding up Farrakhan. Didn't you say you love him? Yes, sir. He said, now watch me, and I will watch him sell. Wow. He said, now you try. Then I let a brother stop, and the brother and I got engaged. When I finished, he said, brother, you're doing too much. You don't teach. Let the minister teach. It took too long to sell the paper. I mean, brother, now that needs to be written up in a practical way that people can follow. See? So now every man now got a certificate. I graduated from selling the Final Call newspaper class. I got a certificate saying I am now a bona fide salesperson.
Yes, sir.
Now, after I've been trained and I can't sell and I don't see my stats going up, guess what you do? You bring them back in for retraining. Not yelling at them. Training. And that's the lieutenant's job. Go look up Teach and Train, the private soldier. When do we ever do that?
Right. Yes, sir.
And there needs to be courses. We need to take a Final Call newspaper selling class. Xerox is not going to let you sell their machines until you take a class.
Right.
You got to know that machine like the back of your hand. Brothers and sisters, on the back of the Final Call newspaper, you're going to get an article. You're going to get what the Muslims believe, what we want. That's 3 most important articles in our newspaper. Actually, it's 4. You got a message from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Brother Jabril, and Mother Tainetta. And then, of course, whatever the subject matter is. Now that brother is equipped. Then he's going out with a very energetic brother who's like himself, or the opposite. So it's got up to me, dear brother, we got to retrain everybody, even though that we think train, and come up with a course where brothers and sisters can be trained on how to sell that Final Call newspaper, how to sell it door to door, how to sell it on the corner, how to go in beauty shops and barber salons, because each one denotes a different technique.
Go ahead.
You don't sell a Final Call door to door like you do on the corner. You got to have a different voice pitch. You have to have a different presentation. You got to know how to knock on the door. First of all, you can't knock like you the police. And then when a person comes to the door, you have to give that person space, because people don't like you all up on their door looking in their house. So we have to come up with a course, my brother, and I believe, and then make sure that every brother know how to sell. And we have a list. Hold on, brother. It says here that you was trained, you got your certificate in 2016. Is that right? Wow, brother, you graduated with honors in selling the Final Call. Oh, yes, sir. Come on in. Let's go. And I guarantee you'll feel different, because a man that's scared to do it ain't going to tell you, because we don't know how to work a brother or sister past their fear. We want everybody to come all the way up to Zen mode, where some of us who've been in the nation for 20 years. It ain't happening. So thank you for your question, dear brother. That's like me going in the gym with a man who's bench pressing 450 pounds, and I ain't never touched a weight, but he want me to be able to at least do 400. No, sir. Show me how to lift a damn barbell.
Praise be to Allah, brother. Thank you so much for your insight.
Oh, you are so welcome, dear brother.
Yes, sir. Anybody else has another question? If so, take your phone off of star. You hit star 6 to unmute yourself. If not, we can get ready to conclude.
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum. Walaikum
How are
salam.
you, sir?
Oh, I'm so fired up. It's Savior's Day.
All praises due to Allah. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. My name is Sister Christina Muhammad. I'm in Austin, Texas, Muhammad Mosque number 64. I just want to thank you so much for taking your time out to speak with us, brother. And just real quick, I have a question, but I just wanted to hit what you talked about tonight was so beautiful. You talked about what I see as far as the ministry. I see management. And I remember in the scripture where he talked about after law comes love. And if you have a proper understanding of management, you will be able to go into that love factor. And you talked a little bit about the laboring staff. And that's something that if you think about that marriage is one half of faith, and that's only two people trying to become one with Allah, think about four of us coming together and trying to be one with Allah and trying to steer the believers where they need to be. So my question with that, dear brother, is there something that we can do? All those fears you talked about, all those different things, the Bible says without a vision, the people will perish. If we understand all of that, if there are no goals, maybe the goals is a misunderstood word. Is there something that can be created? Because I did work with the org for a little bit, and I think it was staff status too that I had to take with those flow sheets that you're talking about, all those different things. Is there something that we can create in the nation of Islam to be able to look at that so every mosque, every study group can produce? Because that's what's missing. There's a misunderstood word when it comes to vision. There's a misunderstood word when it comes to work and getting along and being one half of faith with Allah. So please, dear brother, if you can give us that, I appreciate it.
Yeah, first of all, thank you. That's one of my assignments. And let me say this. The minister now have the National Board of Laborers. Every member of that board now has to take those courses at the church, which will help us to better manage our mosque and our study groups.
Come on.
Now, we're going to be calling together a group of those of us who went in and got the technology. The only problem is we now got to bring that technology back to our mosque in our language.
That's right. That's right.
Not in their language.
That's right.
You know, we got to bring it back in our language. So we're going to be calling for a national group of people who have had that kind of training now, just like the scientists sat down and conferred together. We're going to take the best of what they have, put it in our language as a management tool that can be taught now to every minister, secretary, I don't care what ministry you over. If all of us are doing the same kind of training and knowing the same technology in our language, our nation will come up.
Praise be to Allah.
See, so yes, ma'am, we're going to be putting that together. Plus, I'm going to send Brother Willie just a little brief, what we set up for Mosque 27 goals that he could send out to all of you. Then I'm going to send him the, chart, how to chart the progress of the believer. How to chart the progress of each person in that mosque and put it in a stat. So then show that person based on where their stats are. If they want to raise it, then show them the fundamental practices and things they need to do in order to complete an action. So we're going to put those things together and just give it to you in small bits and pieces so it ain't too much to bite at one time. It's really, really simple. It's not hard. It is not hard. We just have to be willing to allow the believers to engage and stop trying to lead them where we want them to go. Get group agreement. Get group agreement. And once you got group agreement, guess what? Now everybody got to be responsible because every member of the nation is a laborer. The minister told me just 2 weeks ago, brother, I need 50 to 75,000 laborers. Will you help me? I'm like, whoa. We ain't even got that many members that's active. So we got a big job. And I give you my word, dear sister, I'm on that national committee. So make sure I get, and I would love if you want to be a part of that, to where we could put together a management tool that the laborers can have, and that's even when it comes to putting on events. We have an event planning strategy on how to make sure that your events are successful so that we can come out of guessing and mathematically know that when we finish this event, we know we should have the set above this amount.
That's right.
And there's a way to do that without failing. So thank you.
Praises due to Allah. Thank you, my brother.
Wow. Very good. Anyone else?
I know you said, Brother Tony, about it not giving too much at one time, too much to chew on, but, at some point, if you're able to put that event planning strategy to us as well, that would be helpful.
Yes, sir. Give me right after Savior's Day, inshallah.
Yes,
I will have, and again, it's not, that hard. And we're working on an organizational chart for every mosque and or study group, and how you can make sure that every believer is doing something, is engaged in some part of putting their hand on the plow. Because any person that ain't got their hand on the plow becomes weight. And it's not fair to those of us who have our hand on the plow for somebody to be sitting on the sideline eating apples and fanning flies. So we either going to manage you in or manage you out, which managing you out will not be us. It'll be your actions that'll push you away from us. We'll just be a trunk to you and build a wall. But all we need is management tools. And I knew as a minister, I didn't have no management tools. And then I watched my secretary, after counting the money, after dealing on Sunday, they're ready to go home. Ain't nobody put no tracking system. We'll just say, okay, it was 10 people, 10 first-time guests, 3 accepted, everybody gone. After that, ain't no more work until the next Sunday. During the week, what are we doing?
That's true.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Okay. Yes,
and Brother Willie,
yes,
feel free to give everybody who's listening. You all, look, you can have my number. I'm not no brother who is unaccessible. You know what I mean? I try to make myself accessible. So you could, in fact, I'm going to give my number to everybody now. Okay. And just all I ask, text me, because I get quite busy this time of year with my company. But I will reach back. So if you want to have a longer conversation with me, I'll be more than happy. But the conversation has to just be about strategic planning. Don't call me talking about nobody. Unless, if you're talking about somebody, make sure they're on the phone. Don't call me talking about the other laborers don't get it. Don't start off with me like that. Because I don't want to empower you to go beat up the laborers.
Yes, sir.
But my telephone number is 323-861-7277. That's 323-861-7277. And call me anytime, and, we could break bread at Savior's Day. Be more than happy to help, because that's what this nation is about, man. I remember in my traveling, man, just seeing your work, Brother Willie, and what you've done. I was able to bring some of that back to L.A. I really, really want to thank you, for your brotherhood, for your kindness, because in this hour, man, we have to cover down on each other and really love each other. And love what each of us bring to the table. I bring my value based on what I do and do well. I don't do it all, but I do my little part well. And I certainly don't mind helping any of you to do that. The minister recently, and probably getting ready to send me on a national tour to go around the country and resolving the conflict between the laborers. Woo! and getting to the root of the laborers' conflict is not really each other. It's stuff in their past that they don't want to deal with, that they unconsciously are seeing in others. So you're fighting ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
So this is beautiful. So I thank you all for allowing me to, and Brother Willie, again, thank you. And if there are no other questions, I'll go back to doing what I was doing.
Yes, sir. What we're going to do, Minister Tony, we send everybody a recording of this. So we'll be sending you a recording, and we'll be sending those who are on the line and even those who didn't get the chance to make it, because we have about 25 people that have said that they want to participate in this. I have to look at the numbers after we get off the call to see how many are actually on tonight. So we thank you. And for those who are on, after we end the call, please make sure that you send me a text. Send me some feedback about what you gained from our brother's words tonight. Send me some text. Text me what you've gained, so we can let brother know the impact of what Allah had blessed him to do. And Brother Tony, Sister Christina from Austin said that she's willing to work with you, whatever capacity, to help you, in the organizing and all of that stuff for our nation. So she has your number. I guess she can call you at another time to.
Oh, absolutely. That's beautiful. Thank you, brother.
We thank you. We thank you, brother. I'm going back to listen to it as soon as we get off the phone. So we thank you. We look forward to you sending that information, as I'll get it right out to them. And for those who are on our next call is going to be on February the 23rd. And inshallah, we're going to have Brother Jesse Muhammad from Houston. He's going to be talking about social media and student ministry. So he's going to be talking about that. And when we were in L.A., I remember Brother Tony, the minister, talked about how he wanted to see more of his student ministers involved and active on social media. So we're looking forward to that. So thank you, Brother Tony. May Allah bless the work you're doing, bless your family, and we look forward to seeing you in Detroit, and all of you all in Detroit. So thank you all. May Allah bless you and family. Remember to send me the feedback so I can let our brother know.
Thank you, sir. Wa alaikum salam.